What's up in War Eagle War Report family? It's your guy Ike Jones. We're here with another morning drop. Today, we are talking about third down defense for Auburn and trying to make sure we understand how the Tigers are performing in that this season. Y'all know how we do right here, War Report style. Just drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Morning drop. It is Monday, November the 6th, and I am in here with my guy B Will. We are talking a little Auburn football and third down defense. B Will, how you feeling this morning?
Feeling all right, man. Both of them kids out the house.
That is not my testimony today. My son is here with me, but we gonna make it work. You know,
apologies, man.
It's all
you know
good,
what I'm saying?
man.
It's not so noisy when I walk downstairs after the drop. You know what I'm saying? It was a long week. We made it through.
Yeah.
They both back. So yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, man. Before we get into the conversation, you guys do the necessary, and that is sharing the video. We appreciate all of the shares on social media that get the word out to other people. And if you could do us a favor and like the video, go ahead and do it now so you don't forget before you leave. You know, even if you're ghost watching, go ahead and give that thumbs up right now. You know, you don't have to comment. Give that like, and we appreciate that very much. If you're listening to this replay over on Pod, go ahead and share the podcast with somebody and give us a review of how you're feeling, good or bad. It's okay. We like all the feedback. You know, some of it's a little ridiculous. You know, some people say stuff and I'm just like, I don't think you were actually listening. I don't think you actually listened, but it's cool. But hey, feedback is feedback. 5-star reviews are very appreciated from those of you who love what you're hearing, though. And
we love those.
Appreciate that very
Love
much.
those.
All right. Let's get into this conversation because this is a big thing, right? Because Auburn's been doing well defensively all season. I don't think anybody can debate that we are a good defense. I don't know if great is appropriate, but definitely a good defense.
Good, yeah, not great.
But third down in particular, I think Auburn has performed better than what you would assume we have based upon just feelings in the moment versus the statistics of how they bear out. I think will be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Currently, Auburn is ranked 17th in the country in third down defense, 17th in the top 20 in the country at 31.2%. That's pretty good. 31.2% getting people off the field, or that's pretty good. I mean, not that they're getting them off the field and they're only allowing 31.2% conversions on third down. Good for 17th in the country. That's good for second in the conference. We are the second best defense in the conference at getting people off the field on third down.
Right.
Now, again, it doesn't feel like that sometimes when we're giving up these big third and longs on in some of these games. But listen, the last two games, Vandy, 2 of 14 on third down. Mississippi State, 2 of 12 on third down. That's a defense that is handling business and getting people off the field. If we could figure out how to clean up some of that third and long stuff,
yeah,
this would be you'd be in the elite category of defenses, looking at how you're able to get teams off the field on third down and how often you're forcing turnovers. You combine those two things and you have a really elite defense on your hands. I think Auburn's doing a really good job so far. Definitely could improve, but thoughts on the third down defense so far this season, BL?
The third down defense is there are a handful of metrics that I look at when I'm picking games, when I'm picking spreads, and I say I need to know who these people are quickly because unlike Auburn, I'm not covering these people. One of, I'd say, 3 key defensive metrics I look at is third down defensive rate. How often are you getting a stop on third down as a defense? It's a money down. And also, what's your red zone percentage? Yeah, you can give up yards, but if you can get off the field on third down and bow up in the red zone, you're going to be a pretty good defense. That's really the kind of defense that Auburn is. Would you love to just stop people outright? Of course you would. You would love to 3 and out every time a opposing offense got on the field. But if you're not equipped to do it, you're not equipped to do it. So defensive coordinator has to put the people in the best position to make plays, to confuse the offense, and to get the stop. And if you can get the stop on third, man, listen, you're giving your offense a chance to make a difference in the game. Now, unfortunately for us, Our offense hasn't been able to do that much this season, which is why we got the record that we've got. But our defense has been doing what a good defense should be doing. An elite defense will stop people from getting yards. A great defense would stop people from moving the ball up and down the field. We are not elite. We are not great. However, we are a very good defense. I would venture to say, especially with the turnovers that we can get. And we've been a very good defense for the entirety of the season. It's just unfortunate that our offense hadn't been able to take advantage of those opportunities that's yielded.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you mentioned it, and it wasn't really part of what my talking points were going to be for today. But since you did, Auburn ranked number 19 in the country in red zone defense right now.
Yeah.
So Auburn's doing what they need to do to be able to limit the, and I think that's borne out by the number of points that Auburn is giving up, right? Like, take away the ridiculous amount of points they gave up at LSU, which you can't take it away, but I'm just saying, like, there are blips in this radar.
Yeah.
If you take away the ridiculous amount of points in that game, and Ole Miss, two of the better offenses in the country, which is why I say good, not great. Like, great defenses are going to say, all right, I know, hey, LSU, you've been scoring 40 points per game, but today that's not happening. A little bit better against Georgia, right? Georgia didn't go crazy offensively, and they've been putting up a ton of points. Ole Miss a little better, but still not great in that regard as well. But in totality, when you think about how many points some of these offenses are putting up, Auburn has done admirably against them. I think the biggest issue for Auburn has been, and this has been the unfortunate chorus for Auburn for a few years now, is not getting enough help from their offense, staying on the field, number one, or flipping the field, number two.
Right.
Giving defense opportunity to rest and not giving them short fields to work with consistently. The troubles that Auburn has had with, let's look at the Mississippi State game, for instance, or we can look at this Vanderbilt game, getting pinned down deep inside the 10-yard line and then unable to get first downs and move the ball forward, right? 3 and outs consistently on offense. Those things don't help the defense at all.
Right.
Even with a poor offense thus far this season, Auburn's defense has been tops in the country at getting the ball back to that poor offense, right? That's amazing, considering the positions that this defense has been placed in consistently and how often they are called on over and over and over again to get stops when they've not been placed in great spots. And for them to be tops in the country, again, in the top 20 in the country in red zone defense and top 20 in the country in third down defense, says a lot about what this defense is able to do to get the ball back, forcing punts. And then, I haven't even talked about the turnovers. Another game with another turnover, 18 straight games. So forcing punts, forcing turnovers consistently, getting the ball back to your offense. You got to applaud the defense and how they've been performing this year.
Yeah. Mike G has harped on the fact, and he said this earlier in the season, that we had a championship defense. We don't have a championship defense. There's no metric that supports us having a championship defense unless we got Cam Newton on the other side of the ball. But what has been visible is that we have had a championship effort between the coordinators and the players that do get on the field. With the injuries that we've had, I think what we've done this season, there's no game where if we had a competent offense, we would not have been in the game. None. Every game that we have played, our defense gave us the effort to keep us in a game and to allow an offense that, if it was competent, could have won us the game. And that's what you should be able to ask for from your defense. If it's not locked down, shut out, this is what you want to be able to get from your defense, and we've gotten it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've gotten enough on defense, even with, listen, I am surprised isn't the right word. I am, pleasantly surprised at how well the defensive line has been able, guys like Zeke Walker stepping up in the absence of Nasili Kite, who went down with the injury. I thought that was going to be a bigger blow to a defense that had been consistently talked about as how lacking in depth we were along the front. Guys have stepped up in that regard to allow us to be good during the back half of this season. Kind of projecting forward to what we're going to have versus Arkansas. Arkansas is definitely a team that will likely look different now that their offensive play caller is going to be different. But the Arkansas offense is number 60 in the country, right? So in the middle of the country in third down offense. So they've been good, but not great, not even close to great on third down. And that's good for 8th in the conference at 40.6% conversion rate on third down. I think the biggest thing for Auburn, and actually one of the most beneficial things for Auburn, is that they've played now, well, only for a couple of snaps because he didn't get a lot. Walt Taylor didn't come in the game a lot for Vandy, but now 2 weeks in a row. Really, you really go 4 weeks in a row if you go back: LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then Vanderbilt. Teams that have quarterbacks that are able to extend plays with their legs, and Auburn has played okay against them. Again, LSU absolutely manhandled in that game. Ole Miss, Jackson Dart was able to get loose on a couple of plays, and that really hurt Auburn. Mississippi State, Mike Wright. I think Mike Wright is more in the mold, and no disrespect to KJ Jefferson, more in the mold of a Mike Wright in the fact that his arm is not the talent of a Jackson Dart or a Jaden Daniels, right? So he's going to be a big threat on the run, but he's a bigger guy, right? Like he's more of a run you over type of guy when he gets moving in the open field. It's going to be an interesting thing to see how Auburn decides to play specifically on those third down scenarios against a guy like KJ Jefferson, who can go and pick up, which he did a couple of times in this last game, go and pick up some crucial third downs with his legs, not so much with his ability to throw.
Right. And KJ Jefferson has never been a transcendent talent the way the media kind of wanted to make him be after Arkansas had a really decent season, a great season for Arkansas because they won 9 games. I think it was in 2021 when we beat them. However, there was more that could have been done with him over the last couple of seasons. He didn't have to look as bad as he had looked, especially this season. They seemed confused on whether they wanted to use him as a pocket passer or as a runner. And really the best thing for him, a guy that size who is mobile and willing to run, why not do everything he can do? Yeah. I think most offensive coordinators would say, yes, it's great to have a guy that can move, but you can completely tear a defense up from the pocket if you're accurate and if you're precise and if you're smart. Yeah, but if your guy doesn't have all of those things all at the same time, use what he's got and make something work. And this new OC seems to have said, okay, yeah, enough of whatever they were trying to force on KJ for the majority of the year. Let's get back to basics here and use some of everything you've got. And they did that. And that's to our disadvantage because we only saw one game of this guy, of the new OC using KJ in that offense in every way that they wanted to.
Right.
And it's a little bit of fool's gold. Like, don't get me wrong. I still think Florida's bad. I think Florida wins that game if they had stuck with their old OC, though. Because at the very least, even if that OC calls his best game of the year, he still got all of his tendencies on tape for 8 games. And it's not like they were cruising for 8 games, Arkansas was, and they could save some stuff and surprise Florida with it. No, they were in dog fights almost every game. They lost to BYU. They lost to Mississippi State in a game where they couldn't get anything going. So they would have gone into that game predictable and playing without a lot of confidence. Now their confidence is high. They're not going to be predictable. This is probably the worst case scenario for us right now. They're coming back home after a big win, energized, and KJ Jefferson has to have a bit of a new lease on life after seeing that, yeah, you know what, the OC was holding me back. Now I'm feeling better about myself. I'm feeling back to myself like I felt the last couple of years, and it's going to be a tall task.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a tall task considering, to your point, there's not a lot of tape on what they're going to be attempting to do. But we do have some tape, so we're going to try to see what we can do. Now, that don't help with Auburn's game plan, but it will help me take a look at what's going on, and hopefully we'll have some indicators of what could potentially be happening in this Arkansas game coming up this weekend. Yeah. All right, we want to get into you all's comments. We appreciate you dropping in with us as always. But today's morning drop is sponsored by the good folks at Lynch Toyota. They have been great sponsors for us this football season. The area's premier Toyota dealership serving the Auburn area for over 20 years. If you need a free key replacement, free windshield repair, free tire and wheel protection, that comes with every new Toyota that you get from Lynch Toyota of Auburn. 4 years of free maintenance on all new Toyota vehicles as well. All certified pre-owned vehicles come with lifetime brakes and battery replacement, as well as a 100,000-mile warranty. To buy, sell, or trade or service your vehicle, make sure you shop Lynch Toyota of Auburn for the best customer experience. Get started now at lynchtoyotaofauburn.com. All Toyotas are created equal. Lynch Toyota makes the difference. Hopefully somebody out there has been browsing the Lynch Toyota website because they've been hearing us talk about this consistently now for about 10 weeks. And they've decided, all right, let me go check it out and see what they got going on. But go ahead and hit the link if you haven't already. It's right down there in the description of the video. Just browse. Listen, you don't have to buy nothing just because you're browsing, unless you're impulsive like that. Then, check your bank account and make sure you're straight. But anyway, enough of that car talk. Let's get back into some football conversation. We've got the greatest fans in the world, the Auburn fans, who made Nashville feel like a home game. Hopefully we'll be able to go in and take over Fayetteville. Not fully, because listen, Arkansas football fans, Arkansas is amongst the most delusional fan bases out there in the world, in which, because they think that they're going to be great every single year in every single sport, and they get let down every single year in every single sport. It is amazing. It is amazing. The elitist mindset that Arkansas fans have. Like, I'm actually shocked we have not heard more from Arkansas fans already this year, maybe because the football team isn't doing as great.
That's why.
But they will show up in the comment section today to tell us how much they are better than Auburn and they're going to beat us. Arkansas fans always show up. I will always see something from an Arkansas fan the week that we have to play them.
Yeah, so the thing was, of course, the basketball gives them just enough room to talk. And then it just like spreads, like that confidence gets spread around to every other sport. Like, please, y'all, stop. Like, basketball season, you talk your stuff a little bit. You've been going further than all the other SEC teams. That's it, though. Go ahead and stop. Leave it right there.
But they will show up. So I'm not. It's not going to be. This is going to be a true road test. Is my point here. In Fayetteville. So hopefully Auburn is ready for the test. Anyway, we're getting into these comments. B Will's forehead's going to get us jumped off and says, Is Auburn's defense better than Alabama? Because all I hear is Greg McElroy talk about in the morning show is how great Alabama's defense is.
So from what I can tell, because I was, of course, talking to a couple Bama fans, and I told them Jaden Daniels was going to cook them up. And they was like, he's mediocre. I said, oh, okay, we're doing this again. See, they did this in 2012. Right, Johnny Manziel wasn't that good. Oh, because he had beaten us by like 35-0 or something. Oh, Johnny Manziel ain't that good, and then he goes and he cooks them up. Like, he did it to us too. Like, yeah, listen, man, people are good because they're good. They aren't good because they go through you. You just don't know yet. Like they were trying to do that with Cam Newton in 2010. Remember, like, oh, like, it's gonna stop when it comes here, and he did it to them.
Right.
These people are good, and then they get to you, and you just get to experience it. Jaden Daniels was good. Bama had given up on the season, I think, just under 17 points per game, and he put up 28 points in about 2.5 quarters.
Oh yeah, he was cooking them. He was absolutely cooking that game.
The guys had some drops, and he had a tip pass that was an INT. I think he still puts up 42 on them no matter what, which I think was their season average. So seeing that offense put those points up on that defense makes me know, that kind of confirms my feelings about Jaden Daniels, honestly. I don't know if Bama's defense is great or if they've just been playing really bad offenses for a good while here. Now, Joe Milton and company put up 20 on them. Florida held Joe Milton and company to that same 20 as when Tennessee was a visiting team. I don't know. And plus, Joe Milton's a little shaky anyway. Tennessee's kind of working with one hand behind their back. There's not one game I can point to that says, man, look at what Bama did there. I am convinced that they're elite on defense. I have not seen it. I've seen Mississippi State. I've seen, South Florida. I just haven't seen anything from them that says, man, that offense was the one to let me know y'all are really cooking. They did hold down Ole Miss, which I guess is lower than we held them. So that let me know that they're at least good. I still don't know if they're great. But at the same time, if you don't have the tools to test a very good defense or to take advantage of it, then they're going to hold you down. So right now, I would look at how they are and what they are and say they're a little better than us because they seem to have held down a common opponent a little bit better, just a little bit. But I don't think the margin is that wide. I think their offense is just doing well enough to give their defense some relief. And I think our defense would look a lot better if we had an offense that chipped in and helped out.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say is they're probably pretty close. Statistically, Auburn's better in some places. Bama's better in some places. They probably have more talent from top to bottom on their defense, but they have a lot of holes on that defense as well that a lot of teams have been able to exploit over the season. I think
Right.
the intimidation factor for Bama gets to some people. Like they line up and they start playing the name on the helmet and jersey and not the people.
Right.
And listen, Texas didn't do that. Texas came in there and said, "Man, we're gonna play bully ball," right?
Right.
LSU was not scared of Bama, right?
Right.
They came out there and they're like, "Man, we're gonna play." Right. So statistically, I think we're pretty even. Again, Auburn's better in some places. Bama is better in some places. I probably would give the nod, and I think you made the differentiating point to me. I think Bama's offense helps their defense a little bit more than our offense has
Yeah.
helped our defense. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much the biggest difference. When our offense gives a little help to the defense statistically is looking better every single time. So, and to your point, the common opponents, LSU and Ole Miss, Mississippi State, we didn't let Mississippi State do much. They didn't let Mississippi State do much. Ole Miss is probably the biggest differentiator there because, again, I think that a healthy Jaden Daniels, they'll score a little bit more in that game.
They would have
to
gotten
finish it out.
two more touchdowns and kept it trucking. So yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I don't know. And for Greg to talk about how good Bama's defense is, unless he's also subsequently talking about Auburn's defense not being good, then that's just him wanting to big up Bama's defense, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, for sure.
James Barnett says, if we can just stay healthy, I think we could win out. Listen, we've got a good opportunity here. We got 2 more very winnable games and a third. Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows?
AU Curmudgeon says defense would be better if the offense stayed on the field, something we just 100%. Talked about.
100%.
Agree with this.
The biggest difference. I've seen so many times offenses hold the ball, keep their defenses off the field, or a 9-10 play drive and you end it with points. Man, your defense is going to go back out there rested, fired up, and ready to protect that lead. You got to give your defense some help, man. Got to.
Yeah. 22 Busy says Arkansas is a good litmus test of where we are as a program. I think it's going to be a hard-fought, low-scoring game.
I wouldn't mind a low-scoring game. I think we have a better chance there on the road, keeping the offense from getting going. It's going to be hard-fought. I do agree that this is the test of. Go ahead.
No,
I was going to say this is the test of. Have we gotten better the last 2 weeks, or where we're just bad opponents?
Right.
Here's a road test against a decent defense that is now back motivated. They got some energy again. They're still not a great team. They're a decent team at best. Maybe now that they've got a better OC there, this is a team that you can test yourself and say, now we know those last 2 weeks against Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, smoke and mirrors. We're still the same team because we didn't play well. Or, hey, you know what? Peyton Thorne looked good throwing the ball. The wide receivers were catching the ball. We didn't have these busts on 3rd and 22 or 3rd and 21. You know what? I think we actually learned our lesson here. We're actually better. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think, listen, Arkansas has been a feisty team all year, and they've been giving teams problems, specifically second halves of games. They've played pretty poorly in the first half of most of their games. Don't really know what to expect going forward from this new revamped offense. But I think for whatever reason, and not for whatever reason, I understand the plight of the Auburn fan that feels like we're on the precipice of doom all the time, right? Like we're just like, oh my God, it's terrible. I don't want to feel happy because y'all gonna take my joy away. Every time I start feeling good, y'all gonna snatch it away. And we have to look at, it was just this team. It was just, listen, man. Mississippi State's beat some teams this year. Let's not pretend like Mississippi State hasn't gone out there and gotten dubs against some folks in the SEC.
Yeah.
Well, not some. They've gotten an SEC win.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt has given teams scares this season.
Yeah.
Auburn handled business against them. Didn't let them score for the vast majority of those games. We can't just throw that away just because the other team's record is poor.
Right.
There are things that are absolutely positive that this Auburn football team has put on the field these last 2 weeks, specifically offensively, that should give you some reason to say, okay, maybe it's looking a little bit better. Does that mean we're absolutely going to beat Arkansas? No.
Right.
Does that mean it's going to look like that in Fayetteville? No.
Right.
But I need everybody to stop being so all the time, man. All every now and then come up from this like self-pity Auburn cloud of, oh my God, it's gonna be terrible, something's bad's gonna happen, and say, all right, man, listen, we got it. The boys got a chance out here in Fayetteville. Let's go see him put it on the field. I agree with this. Good litmus test right here to know,
Very
have
good.
you crossed over the threshold from the doldrums? Because earlier in the season, we were in the doldrums. We were down at the bottom, fighting it out for last place in the SEC. And I think we've started the ascent back into mediocre, if we're being honest, into the middle range. And this is going to be the test to see, have we truly gotten over the hump, and can we get to a 7-win season, right?
Right.
Then you put yourself in a position to get to an 8-win season, and the record on the year looks drastically different than the feeling of the season.
Right. Right. Yeah. I agree with that completely. 8 wins on a season in a year one, when we won 6 2 years ago, we won 5 the last year. It feels much different, and
Yeah.
and that means we would end the season with a win against Bama in the Iron Bowl. That feels much different
Yeah.
than what we've been feeling the majority of the season. Every time we stepped on the field against an SEC opponent, if they were moderately good, we lost. So this will be the first true test against a middle of the road SEC opponent. And I'm with you. Arkansas is better than their record. They're better than their record. They were
Yeah.
mismanaging their offense, so they apparently have fixed that. But they're better than their record. Their margin of victory in some of these games was actually much lower than how we played some of the exact same teams. We got
Correct.
blown out by some of these teams.
Listen, man, again, I know it was before the OC change. Mississippi State just beat Arkansas 7-3.
Yeah.
2 games ago, 7-3.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand the trepidation of like, man, I don't want to get my hopes up. Let me just see it. I'm the same way. I need to see it before I get to. But listen, man, it's okay. It's okay, y'all.
I'll say this. I'll jump out there and say this though. If we lose to Arkansas, we're not winning the Iron Bowl. Okay.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm going that far. I know
it being a home game, I'm not going that far.
If we lose to Arkansas, who is just at best a okay team, I don't think we beat a good Bama team. Like the margin between us is, we have been a good team that's beat a great Bama team. Like we've done that before. We've been a great Auburn team that's beat a great Bama team. Usually, when we beat them in the Iron Bowl, we've never been as talented as Auburn in the last, as Bama in the last, really since Gus took over and won won that game. We've never been as talented as them, period. We win when we come in with a slightly worse record, usually. I mean, pretty much always, and slightly less talent or much less talent. This is the year where we actually have to have some things working, though. Like, I want you to think about the 2016 team. Like, things were good. We were decent. Run game was good. Quarterback was okay. Couldn't really throw that far. I mean, Sean White, again, he had the moxie, but we didn't have much for them. We just didn't, because the margin between us being decent and good, like there's a threshold where we can beat most teams, but can you beat everybody you're supposed to beat and handily? Like that's the kind of good we need to be. We were that good in 2016, and we still didn't beat a team that was, although they were a very good defense that year, they weren't an elite team. Jalen Hurts hadn't figured it all out yet. Their offense wasn't off the wall crazy. We have to at least be able to say we know where Arkansas is. They're decent. We think we're decent. Let's go in there and win a game. Not because we got the home field advantage, not because our offense has been clicking and their defense has been awful. Their defense is probably as decent as our offense is. Make the adjustments, make the changes, make the calls, and improve your play to the point where you can beat a team that is, I struggle saying you should beat, But I do believe that a team that you should be. We should not be questioning wins and losses against Arkansas in football. I think that's a little discouraging, and
Yeah.
I know that's why folks are freaking out a little bit.
I listen, I completely understand where it comes from. I guess my whole thing is why I don't know that, though I agree about litmus tests and overall competency of the team. If we were going on the road to Bama, I would agree. I just think that this team looks different at home. And so
Right.
the home version of Auburn, I don't know that the road version of Auburn versus Arkansas is an indicator of what the home version of Auburn in versus Bama is going to be. I don't know that those two things are an analog. If Arkansas was at home and we lost to them, I'd be way more in agreement with you. Way more.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
But I do understand the thought process of, man, if we can't beat this team, how are we going to beat them?
Right.
It's different environments, different feelings, different attitudes towards the game. It's just different. And so I don't ever really count Auburn out in the Iron Bowl. I definitely don't count Auburn out in the Iron Bowl versus this Bama team. And again, I'd feel way more confident, I'll say this, if we go on the road and beat Arkansas in our chances in the Iron Bowl.
Right.
But I wouldn't say we lose this one. We definitely lose this one. I'm not there yet. Now, if we get it handed to us in Fayetteville, then maybe I'd be like, all right, well.
That's fair. How this offense looks in this game will determine it, because we could win it. A comedy of errors, some fumbles by Arkansas, defense turns them over, and we kind of hold on to win. I'm not going to have a lot of confidence. Now, if we go out here and, I mean, we sling it, we see some of the wide open receivers, guys schemed open, they're catching the ball, Peyton Thorne's on time with the ball, fewer offensive line busts, then I'm going to say, okay, now this is a team that I think can beat Bama at the end of the year. But we'll see. We got this is the show improve game from all our struggles this year. This is a game where we see what we got.
All right, a couple more before we get out of here. Chris S says Arky and great value diet Cam Newton on the road should be a good litmus test. We just talked about the litmus test. I just had to get it in there. Him calling him great value diet.
Not only is he diet, but he's great.
It's a great value diet. Yeah,
you off brand and diet. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. I like both. I like using both. I usually use one of the other. I'm gonna start using both now. I appreciate that, Chris.
That's awesome. Corey Weber says Arkansas is trash. We'll never pick them to beat Auburn. I am with you there. Yeah, Arkansas is not trash. All right. So listen, the fan in me, I'm gonna say this today, and it's the only time I'm gonna say Arkansas is not trash. Now for the rest of the week, I'm gonna call them trash because that's what I'm supposed to do because they're playing against us and I don't like them. They're not trash. They're a decent team. But I hope we beat them like they're trash when we head over there to Fayetteville. But they're not trash. But again, Arkansas fans, if you didn't catch me say it today, then I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you because today is the only time I'm ever going to say that. The rest of the week, y'all trash. And I'm going to agree with what Corey said. JC23 says Arkansas game is the biggest of the season. Got to get it. Listen, every game so far since Mississippi State has been the biggest of the season. Mississippi State was the biggest game of the season. Vanderbilt to that point, biggest game of the season. Now Arkansas, this is the pivot point right here. Again, we are pretty much guaranteed. Like I don't like guaranteeing victories, but like we're pretty much guaranteed to be bowl eligible because we have New Mexico State left. Right. But this is the pivot point to whether or not we're going to be above 500 right here. You beat Arkansas, you pretty much, again, guarantee yourself to be an above 500 team for the first time in the last 3 seasons. And you give yourself a shot with some momentum going into the Iron Bowl to get to 8 wins, which you've not been in that position either in the last 3 seasons, of course, because you haven't been over 500. This is a good pivot point, and I think we just need this for the confidence of this offense on the road to show in a true hostile environment. Can you do it? And just the overall morale of some of these players that are going into their final games.
Yeah. Yep. I'd love to see that for them too.
Last one here from Lutson Curtin 43, who says, what about Arkansas with the way that their offense looked compared to the beginning of the season before the switch? We talked a little bit about this, more KJ Jefferson in the run game. Rocket Sanders back from injury now. He's definitely been the best running back for them over the last 3 seasons. And I think just allowing KJ to be a player, you know what I'm saying? Defensively, they've been decent all year. Not great, but decent all year. T. Will doing an admirable job in year 1 down there. Got to give props to T. Will for that. But and they look good defensively against Florida in some spots. They looked terrible in some spots too. But that's kind of the story of the Arkansas football team this year. It's been they looked really good in some places, and then they looked really terrible in places. And you're like, yo, how is this team? What is this? It's very hard to tell what it is, because it hasn't been a road versus home thing. It's just been drive to drive. This drive they look good. The next drive,
Yeah, you can't count on them, which is rough. I actually I picked against them this last week when we were making our picks. It was between them and Mississippi State. I thought one of them had a chance to upset. I chose incorrectly because I chose Mississippi State to beat Kentucky, but they're so unpredictable. It's like I don't know which way to predict. Like I haven't bet on the Arkansas game. Oh, I take that back. I bet on them to beat BYU, and I regretted that. And I stopped betting on them for the whole year because again, so shaky, so up and down. I don't know how you look that inconsistent within the same game. Like that's crazy to me. But that's who they are. That's who they've been. So yeah, it's really hard to know what you're gonna get from them. Even this week, like they had some stuff that worked, but not everything worked. So I don't know what we're walking into here. We'll see.
Yep. All right, man. We're gonna get out of here. We appreciate you guys dropping in with us. As always, the morning drop is sponsored by Rogue Shop. Head over to rogueshop.com using code REPORT for 15% off of your purchase. If you're feeling, there seems to be a lot of anxiety in the fan base, a lot of stress. Rogue Shop's got you covered. Go ahead and put your order in before Saturday gets here, so you'll be good to go throughout the game. We'll be back with you guys with another morning drop tomorrow. We'll be talking a little bit more about what we hear from Coach Hugh Freeze today in his press conference. So make sure that you are tuned into that. Before you get out of here, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to this on podcast, go ahead and share that. And make sure you give us that 5-star review. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.